Hey everyone, Amia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at the astrology of the week ahead from May 5th till May 11th. And this week's astrology is once again a bit milder. It's very Mercury focused. So the overall theme is kind of laid upon like mental breakthroughs and maybe some like clarity. We are really steadying the momentum this week that is building up towards the Scorpio full moon that we will be getting on Monday. And I will make a separate video in a more deep dive into the Scorpio full moon in and of itself. So we're not going to dwell too much on that, but I do think it's important to just kind of get the feel of this week. So it's like very much Mercury, a lot of mental energy, and then the focus is on really building all of this up, like building this momentum towards the full moon in Scorpio. Again, I just want to know how you guys are feeling. The astrology of last week was kind of mild as well. I think May is definitely a milder month, at least compared to the other ones. Although there are things happening, right? There are things happening. Pluto just stationed retrograde yesterday. Interesting news and things that I've been hearing from the astro world. It's going to be interesting to observe this because this time around, Pluto is in its retrograde motion, but it's not going to go back into Capricorn like it did the last two times, which was the last 2 years. So we're fully in the Pluto in Aquarius era. And I've actually been a bit more quiet and down, but I have been working a lot in the back on things. There's actually a whole how should I say, a video essay or something, or I'm not yet sure if I want to record it, but I do kind of really want to record it. But I started to write about Gen Z essentially because I'm like the mere beginning of Gen Z. Okay, I'm 1997, so I'm literally like the beginning of Gen Z. But I found this. Okay, no, let me put it this way. I was looking through a lot of the videos and I was like, okay, let me look at the outer planets. I am a more ancient Hellenistic astrologer, so the outer planets are not the most interesting thing for me ever, but they definitely in terms of global events, mundane astrology wise, looking at generational issues and problems, the outer planets have so much to say. I mean, ode to Richard Tardis, his book, Cosmos and Psyche, amazing book. And just looking through global events and worldly events. Although this time around, I was just curious about generations. Now, I am the mere beginning of Gen Z, and I actually still have Neptune at the last 3 degrees of Capricorn. Most of Gen Z, though, is very much, how should I say, expressed through Neptune being in Aquarius and also Uranus being in Aquarius as well. Both of these planets being in Aquarius. And I was thinking of the issues that kind of get constantly thrown around with Gen Z. And I was really thinking of Neptune in Aquarius and this idealization of detachment that it seems is so prominent with Gen Z folks, where it almost feels like oftentimes this is very much a generation that forgets how to human. And that's so Aquarius. There's this idealization of this perfect human that is so cool and so detached. I guess most of us just have a sort of cool girl syndrome or something. I'm not sure. And it's scared of attachment essentially, and I just found it fascinating, and that was kind of the building point for going more in depth into this. And I found so many interesting correlations because the World Wide Web is actually very much a product of Saturn in Aquarius. And I believe the last time we had in 2020, beginning of 2020, throughout 2022, when Saturn was in Aquarius. Actually, I believe till 2023 is when Saturn was really in Aquarius. The internet kind of got a maturity point, or reached this maturity point, and I thought that was very interesting. So the World Wide Web, the internet in and of itself, is kind of really ruled by Aquarius. Okay, sorry, I just had to quickly go check out the things that I've written down in my document just so I don't say anything wrong. But So again, the internet is like really a product of Aquarius, but then like the social media part seems to be much more like it pops up much more when Uranus enters Pisces, actually. Like, you know, these sites like Facebook, Instagram, all of that kind of really popped up during Uranus moving into Pisces. And then even more interestingly, dating platforms kind of really popped off when Neptune started to move into Pisces. And that's important for us Gen Zers because that's around the time when we became teenagers. Like, we grew up, we were babies and all of that, like when the internet established itself, and it's obviously like millennials were the first to really use it and propel in it. But then we are the product of like growing up when Uranus and Neptune were in Pisces. And this is very interesting as well because this is kind of like the extension of that, right? It's like the internet. Okay, this is the internet, but then like the social media platforms are what really makes it interactive. And, you know, for better or for worse. But my observation, and this is kind of also what I want to go, like the video itself, I really want to go more in detail on like the different like issues Gen Z face and like just kind of make it more visible in the astrology that we were like born into. But then I was also like, there is a very interesting opportunity happening right now, especially for early Gen Zs, because Pluto moving into Aquarius means eventually everyone that has Pluto in Sagittarius is going to get a Pluto sextile natal Pluto. That is very interesting. Secondly, Neptune into Aries is gonna, everybody that has Neptune in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries is gonna sextile natal Neptune. I already gone through this with Neptune at the late degrees of Pisces sextiling natal Neptune at the late degrees of Capricorn. This is really like I think it's really around mid 1998 that like Neptune ingresses into Aquarius, goddamn. So again, like the very early Gen Zs still have Neptune at late degrees of Capricorn. Then, all us folks that have Uranus in Aquarius, we get an interesting opportunity right now. Uranus is moving into Gemini this year, which means we are getting a trine, okay? This is huge when it comes to the internet world and the digital realm, because Gemini is also kind of very much ruled by communication, and Gemini has very much like a Twitter energy. I never had Twitter ever in my life, or X or whatever it's called now, but just like from the energy on with like this fast pace, like that's very Gemini-like. So I think there's a very interesting opportunity that early Gen Z folks are getting in terms of like how the outer planets are aspecting their natal outer planets. In like a good way. I think it's an opportunity in a very, very good and interesting way that we are getting here, kind of maybe changing the field. And again, most of us early Gen Zs, everybody that has Saturn in Aquarius, we're getting our Saturn return this year. So it's like a maturity point that we are facing. It really taking on new obligations. So I think it will be very interesting how things develop now that also all of this is coinciding with our Saturn return. But again, I will talk more about this in a video that I will make. I really want to make it more in-depth, so hopefully you're excited for that. Let me know down in the comments if you have any observations or anything you want to add. That's like my news. There has been like a lot of work going on. There's also like I'm currently working on doing Saturn and Aries horoscopes, and the 12th house series is also coming to an end. If you haven't already, the 11th house episode is out. Check it out. I did it with Hawk, such an awesome human. It was such a great, fun episode, and highly, highly recommend it. If you have prominent 11th house placements or even the MC in the 11th house, like really listen to this episode. It's available on YouTube, also on Spotify, and I'll link it down below. This has happened. So again, and like I'm currently working on slowly getting the 12th house episode in the rolling. And then this whole like house series is going to come to an end, which is like, whoa, oh my God. And And then, like, just a small promotion that I want to do. Me and Duna have created a decan dance. Okay, the decans are like the 10 degrees increments of the zodiac sign. If you take one zodiac sign, which is like 30 degrees, you can split it into 3 parts. The first, the middle, and the last 10 degrees. They all have like a planetary ruler, or even 2, depending on like the order or which philosophy you follow, I guess. And me and Duna are really doing like a deep dive. There's also video we did on the decans of Taurus. We're really going like with the wheel, with the sun. We're doing like this decan dance, okay? So you can like really walk through it or dance through it. And we're also making it really interactive, okay? So if you join on the live workshop, we are going to talk much more like chart examples and everything. And you can even bring your chart. Like, it's really to make it interactive and fun for you, so you can go away with new knowledge that you can actually apply in your chart or other people's charts or in real life in general. So that's that. I will also link it down below. Again, we have a free like introductory style YouTube video on it, and if that sparks your interest, if you're maybe somebody that has a lot of Taurus placements, highly recommend checking it out. You can join the singular workshops, just one, you know, or if you want to join the whole year, you can also join the whole year, and it will save you a bit off. And I will also link all of that down below, and I would be super excited having you here. The Decan Dance workshop on the Taurus decans is happening this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central European time, which I think is a good time. Like, it's evening here for us European folks, and then for American folks is around, depending on where you live, is around like late morning, noon. So yeah, a good way to spend your Sunday. And again, links down below. And with this, we can officially get into the astrology of the week ahead. Again, much more milder astrology this week. On Monday, we have Mercury in Aries sextiling Jupiter in Gemini. This is an aspect we have already gone through. This already happened on Tuesday. Also, Venus in Aries sextiles Pluto in Aquarius, also an aspect we have already gone through. So really this week, like the beginning of this week, is kind of really a focus on like having like this final mental breakthrough and maybe some emotional clarity when it comes to like your relationships and all of that. Mercury sextile Jupiter, just generally Mercury Jupiter together is like basically this big picture thinking and the small picture thinking. Like, Jupiter is really like seeing things from above and like having this overview, while Mercury is very much like, okay, like I can focus on the details. And them coming together in a sexual relationships is very good, especially with Aries. It's really like kind of bringing this like bold expression that Mercury in Aries often brings. So it's a great day to maybe share your ideas and be more bold in like certain announcements that you might be making. Or maybe it's also like anything that has to do with like launching something that has to do with like writing, communicating, and all of that. Pretty good day for that. Ugh, my hair got into my mouth. Moon also enters Virgo on Monday, which I think is good. It's like a Mercury ruled moon, so it kind of helps that the Mercury that is currently in the air is like one that is sextiling Jupiter. So there is like, even from the moon, there is a greater shift in like maybe being a bit more introspective, analytical, analyzing things. It's really a good start of the week to do that. Then on Tuesday, as already mentioned previously, Venus in Aries sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. This also already happened 2 times. We're getting the last hit now, and I think it's really just like this final hit of like gaining clarity on how you want to have your relationships, maybe new values that got established, or desires that were born throughout the Venus retrograde cycle. Because Pluto kind of brings things forth from the subconscious, and if there's anything like wishes or desires that came up where you're like unsure to really speak them, say them, or just be okay with having them, this is like the final hit of being like, yeah, okay, I accept that these are my desires and wishes and values. I'm gonna go after it. Venus and Aries goes after things, okay? Especially when Mars is in Leo as well. And yeah, maybe also just reflect like, what have you learned since the first 2 times. It's really, the beginning of this week is really just like finalizing things that happened during the Mercury retrograde cycle and things that happened during the Venus retrograde cycle as well. Okay, then on Wednesday, we have Mercury conjoining Chiron in Aries. This is maybe a bit more like a more difficult aspect, at least it can be, not aspect, well, transit in and of itself, but aspect as well, I guess. There's always an opportunity there, though. Okay, with Mercury in a Mars-ruled sign can sometimes be like cutting words, not worlds, but it can cut into your world, into your internal world, especially if it's somebody that says something to you. This is a day that sometimes people can, instead of holding back their like tongue, they just like say it, and words can cut deep. Like words carry vibrations. So this is a day where this can kind of like pop up, especially because Wednesday is already like around Wednesday is when we were really feeling the buildup of the Scorpio full moon, and it's also Mars ruled moon. So I feel like maybe this is like a bit of a day with a bit more tensions. Again, it can also be that there is like a healing component to it. Maybe somebody can actually help you heal a certain wound in yourself by saying nice things, but it can be both, right? Generally, Chiron in Aries, ever since Chiron moved into Aries, has been poking around our wounds of like identity, how we express ourselves, or where we are stuck in doing so. So this can also, like Wednesday can be this reminder of going back to these old wounds of like, I'm not good enough. Like, why do I constantly not feel like I'm good enough? Self-worth. So yeah, I would just suggest like, see what comes along. You know, if you know, when we know that certain transits are happening, we can just like prepare. That's why it's like a forecast, right? We can maybe wear the cosmic weather cap or cloak in a better way. Regardless, we have no full idea of how exactly things are going to play out in our natal charts, because this is also like general, right? Maybe you have like an aspect right on top, like maybe your Venus is like right there where Mercury is going to conjoin Aries. This is completely different than if somebody that does not have that harsh like aspect that is going to get hit by this. So this is like kind of like the general forecast that we are doing here, and then it's really, yeah, it's up to us, I guess, or at least that's what I love about astrology. I'm like, okay, I know that this will happen. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, if it's going to be something crazy. Maybe it's going to be something super mild. Astrology has a lot to do with our ability to observe things. So many times, transits happen to me in the most mundane way ever. Like, you don't even realize it. Like, you know, hindsight is 20/20. Like, maybe a few days later, I'm like, oh, this is how it happened. It might not be this huge thing, like, especially if you don't have any harsh natal aspects where things are happening. So, you know, maybe it's like, oh, moon in Cancer, or no, it doesn't have to be moon in Cancer, but just like moon conjunct Jupiter and I accidentally overflowed my bathtub with water. Something like that, you know? Or like what's happening in the beginning of the week, right? Like Mercury in Aries sextile Jupiter in Gemini. For example, for me, I could easily say that, okay, like I'm focusing more on like my routines, and like the Gen Z article I'm writing could kind of fall into this category. Like, it's not this huge thing, it's a tiny thing, but you can see it in this transit. So astrology really asks us to keep our eyes open and just observe. Like, astrology becomes so much better when we just observe, instead of just being like, oh yeah, Mercury conjunct Aries, Chiron in Aries is exactly gonna mean this. Maybe it's not. And I don't think we're out here to outsmart the universe, but rather have a relational way of being in tune with the universe. And relationships are two-sided, okay? So the universe requires of us to also be open and receptive to what it wants to show us, to be curious, to not be like, oh yeah, I know you, Mercury, you're gonna do this in my chart. Like, no, get curious. Mercury, is this how you're showing up in my life? So anyways, that's just a small tangent. I guess I just needed to say it. Then on Thursday, we have moon entering Libra, and we have waxing, like the moon is in the waxing gibbous phase by then, which again is really the build up, and this is when tensions begin to rise even more. With Libra, it's just like the reminder of like, maybe if things are too much, find beauty in like compromise, or just doing something fun and relaxing that actually brings joy. That Libra is an air sign. It has to do with the beauty of the mind. And for me, that often has to do with things like poetry or watching beautiful movies or going into art galleries. So it's a perfect day. If things are too much, like it's a perfect day to like just sit down, chill down with a book. We're still in Taurus season as well, okay? So it's really a good day to do something like that. On Friday, no major transits, so it's more like an integration day. Sorry, I'm buffering, apparently. Then on Saturday, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Taurus. So Mercury changes signs, changes dignity, although there isn't any specific dignity when Mercury moves into Taurus. But I do like this pair a lot. A lot of singers, like artists that have beautiful voices, have Mercury in Taurus, or people, again, that are poets. Like there's just this, when Mercury and Venus, like archetypally Mercury and Venus together, is literally beautiful words, speaking beautiful words, the beauty of the language. So again, I like this. That it also means the mental energy is probably like slowing down a bit. Mercury in Aries is much more like ping, 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 like a bit all over the place. Mercury in Taurus is much more like slower and like really like, okay, let me think about it before I speak. And let me find like, if what I'm saying is not practical and useful, why should I say it in the first place? It's really a more chill placement. Like it's more like I'd rather write a poem about it type of placement, or like I'd rather go out and speak to the trees or the flowers type of placement. I really love that. Good day to go to nature and just speak to the trees. The moon also enters Scorpio on Saturday, while we do not have the full moon then yet. Obviously, the fact that just the moon moves into Scorpio already means that the buildup is like fully here now, and it's just like a preparation day, On Sunday, we also don't have any major transits with Scorpio. Scorpio moon essentially is always a reminder of like, still waters run deep. And I think this weekend is really like the overall thing I would say for this weekend is take it slow and stay present. The best way you can stay present is if you are connecting with your body and with nature. Because Scorpio moons tend to have a lot of harsh emotions inside them. Like Scorpio moon always brings up harsh emotions. Because the moon is in its fall in Scorpio. Why is that? So? First of all, the Scorpio is a fixed sign. Okay, out of all the water signs, being fixed water is like the least watery water. Okay, it's like ice, if we think about it in that way. Secondly, so the moon does super well in the sign of Cancer, right? Where it like flows like the tides of the ocean. It's exalted in the sign of Taurus that has a lot to do with fertility. In Scorpio, there's like this protective force. And if we think of things, like if we think of emotions that are hard to process and go through, like that get stuck in our body, that we don't like to feel, it's grief, it's anger, it's resentment, frustration, depression, all these things. That's like hard emotions that get stuck in our body. Like fixed water, again, like it's something that does not move easily. Going through grief is not something we move through easily. For us, it's much more easier to go through other emotions. And And so oftentimes the Scorpio moon can bring up these emotions that are hard to go through. And we will take a look at this much more when we look at, when I just make the video that is more in-depth on the Scorpio full moon. So I will end it here for now to not make this weekly overview too long. It's already pretty long. I want to try to keep them more shorter. I think maybe more people will tune in or like it if it's a bit more shorter, but I'm sorry, I just have a Mercury in Sag. Like when I start talking, I just like talk and talk and talk, and so many things suddenly pop up. Like my notes aren't even that huge. Every time I'm like, oh, nice, this week doesn't have a lot of astrology. This video is gonna be like 10 minutes long. I'm here, it's already over 20 minutes. So I don't know how I do it. Like things just pop up and then I have to talk about them. So I hope you enjoyed this weekly overview. Let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Are you already feeling the buildup of the Scorpio full moon incoming? Let me know. Make sure to leave a thumbs up. It helps out more than you know. Leave your comments down below and subscribe to the channel. I'm also super active on Instagram. There's many things that I post on Instagram that I don't post here on YouTube in a more also like digestible format or way through posts. So make sure to follow me on there as well. And yeah, that's what I have for you this week. And I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful and lovely day and week ahead. Bye.